So for this first earring, I'm gonna be using 20 gauge silver filled wire, and I'm gonna be using 4 centimeters. I'm straightening the wire with my nylon jaw pliers. And now I'm gonna take a Sharpie pen and mark approximately 2 centimeters. So this is a steel block and it has a rubber base, and we're gonna be doing some hammering. And I'm gonna be using my favorite dome-faced hammer. So here I'm just moving the wire a little bit from the edge of the steel block because I don't want any indent from the other side. And I'm gonna hold it tight and start hammering. And I will not go right to the Sharpie mark. I'm gonna leave like 2 millimeters in between the hammered bit and the Sharpie mark. So I have finished hammering this wire, and now I'm just gonna shape it a little bit because it bent slightly. So I'm gonna take my flat nose pliers and I'm gonna shape it a bit to keep it nice and straight. And I'm just gonna remove the mark with a bit of acetone. But to be honest, you can just use some tape. You don't really need to use a Sharpie. Now I'm gonna take my round nose pliers and we're gonna make a little loop on the end of this wire where it's been hammered. Also, as you can see, the face of the wire is nicely hammered. It's got a bit of a texture. And on the other side, it has a little bit of an imprint from the steel block. And I'm just gonna turn it and carry on making the loop. And now I'm just gonna press it with my flat nose pliers from the sides. So the next part is to create the earring post. I'm just gonna see where the wire has been hammered flat, like completely flat, and where it's kind of poking out a bit. So this is basically the part where it's been hammered flat. Then we've got this little part where it's been hammered slightly, and then over here, obviously, it's not been hammered at all. And I'm just gonna go right above where it's been hammered slightly. So it's about there. I'm gonna hold it in my flat nose pliers and I'm gonna push on the wire. That's the earring post. But this is not where we finish. Because if we did that, if we just kept this as the earring post, it would slide through the ear hole. And we don't want that. So what we are gonna do, again, this is the hammered part. This is the ear post. We're gonna measure about 3.5 millimeters or so. And now I'm gonna go up and bend it this way. So now I'm holding the piece of wire in my chain nose pliers and I'm gonna be pressing it down. I'm gonna support this bit with my thumb. And now I'm gonna hold both ends of the wire. So my pointer finger will be holding this ear post, and then I'm holding the hammered part with my fingers, my thumb, and I'm just gonna press it down with my chain nose pliers. Or perhaps it will be easier to hold it like so. I think it will be a stronger grip. Again, I'm taking my flat nose pliers and I'm gonna kind of correct the ear post because it moved down a bit and I want it to be the right angle. And you just need to cut the ear post into the size that suits you. I like mine quite short, but yours might be slightly longer. So I think I'm just gonna cut right here and obviously cut it with the flush side of your wire cutters. And of course, when you cut it, it will be quite sharp. So you can use a nail file or fine sandpaper or a jeweler's file and file the end of the ear post. You need to file the edges slightly as well because they are quite sharp. And and then just run your finger over it to make sure that it doesn't have any sharp edges left. You could also use a copper burr, which is used for filing the end of wire, and then you could either leave it as it is, which is super minimalistic. It's just a bar, or you could add something onto the loop, and I'm gonna do that right now. So I have this 6mm sterling silver jump ring, which I'm gonna use, and a little, I think it's 3 or 4mm frosted bead, which is also sterling silver, and it's absolutely gorgeous and it sparkles so much. I'm gonna open the ring sideways, add the little bead to it, and I'm just gonna feed it through the loop and of course close it. So this is the first earring finished. And then you will need some sort of closure. I'm just using this one. It's sterling silver, or you can use a silicone one if you want. And ta-da! Easy minimalist earring number 1. So I'll show you a few more options for other earrings, but first of all, I've got a closed jump ring which has been soldered. I think it's 6mm again. Whoa, and it's gone. So you could again use your block, and this time I'm gonna be using a pin hammer, which is completely flat, and I'm gonna hammer this ring to make it nice and flat. And as you are hammering it, keep turning it. This will do. Here is another earring I made previously, again from silver filled wire, and you can just leave this loop open if you are thinking about adding something that's closed that you can't open. And I'm just gonna slide this on and close the loop. And here I'm making an earring from sterling silver, and as you can see I use the tape, and I think that's probably the best idea. It's about 2 centimeters that I'm gonna hammer. And I'm just gonna file the end of the wire and the edge slightly. Now, because this is sterling silver, it doesn't really matter where I file it or how much I file it, but if you are gonna file the edges on the silver filled wire, then it will reveal the copper underneath, so I didn't do that and I didn't really need to. And for this earring, I've decided to give it a bit of a rub with some sandpaper. This is 800 grit sandpaper. And that will give it a nice satin finish. And I'm gonna use the back of my steel block to hold the wire in place. And just like before, I'm gonna squeeze it. So for this earring I used about 3.5 centimeters of wire to start with, so I only need to cut a little bit off. And where I pressed it with my pliers, it went shiny a little bit, so I'm just gonna go over that bit with the sandpaper again, and that's much better. So sterling silver is obviously a lot stronger than the silver filled wire because that's got a copper base, and so it might be a little bit tricky to press it down if you have anything that's kind of like sticking out or that's visible, you know, the loop. So what you could do, you can use some sandpaper, turn your earring sideways and then file it down gently, and obviously do it on both sides, and then it will look more professional. So that looks better now. Got it nice and even. Of course, we need to file the earring post now, and here are the covers. I couldn't find them before, but I found them now, so I'll show you. They come in different sizes, so it's textured inside, and as you are turning the cover on your wire, it will file it. One is a bit big for my wire, but let me just quickly show you. Turn it round and it will make your ear post nice and smooth. So the cup basically needs to be big enough to go over your wire, and then you turn it like this, or you can attach it to a drill and do it that way. And that is this earring finished. I think it looks really, really nice. You could combine gold and silver. That would look really cool as well. And here is just to show you how different they look. One is with the satin finish and one is left nice and shiny. Which one do you like more? So again, I've got 20 gauge wire. This one is bare brass. Oh, and I have a good news. Do you remember in my last video when I wasn't sure about using the Protecta Clear on earring posts? Well, I have now spoken to Everbright directly, and they assured me that Protecta Clear has been dermatologically tested, it's non-toxic when dry, and can be used even on your ear posts and hooks. So if you make these out of bare brass, you can coat them with that. Also, please don't do what I did and put Protecta Clear in a plastic container, as the varnish melted the container within a week and spilled on my shelf. Perhaps use glass instead. And by the way, here is one earring which I made out of 18 gauge bare brass wire. I mean, it looks great and it's a lot wider than the 20 gauge when it's hammered, but the ear post is quite thick, so not sure if you'd like that. So I'm just filing the end of the wire a little bit, and you can do so many different designs. So you can bend it this way. You've got another ear stud, and I didn't hammer this one, but you can hammer it, and if you hammer it, it will look like this. You can make a circle in the end. When you have an open loop and you hammer it, it will open itself up. So I'm just gonna hold it firmly, close it carefully. Well, carefully. This is what it looks like. I made a bit of a mistake here where I kind of slipped with my pliers. So for that I'm gonna be using this buff stick that I have. I don't really know what grade it is. It's definitely coarser than the one I was using before, the 800 one. Could even attach a bead to this loop with some thin wire. So I really wanted to see what it would look like with a bead, and ta-da! I used silver plated wire for this and gold filled frosted bead. I think it looks pretty good, and I like the silver wire with the gold. And all I did is I rubbed the wire first around this side and then added the bead and then rubbed it again like 4 times on this side. Think of the possibilities. And here I made another one with brass wire and a gold-filled frosted bead. Here is one I made before, and I'm gonna show you one more tip. It's not the right way to do it. If you wanted to do it the right way, you would probably use a jeweler's saw, but this is much easier. So you know how the earring posts usually have like ridges to stop the butterfly bag from falling off? I mean, they probably wouldn't, but just in case, you could simply grab your wire cutters and then hold it gently and then just turn the ear post round, and it's gonna create a small ridge. Here I have 6 centimeters of 20 gauge wire. This one is silver filled. So I'm just gonna start making a spiral. So when you are hammering your piece, keep rotating it because it will ensure that everything is hammered equally. And I think that will do. And then just as before, you need to find the bit where it's not been hammered. So hammered, slightly hammered, not hammered. So right there, I'm gonna bend it. Now the reason why I'm not bending the hammered part is because I don't want it to snap. When you are hammering your jewelry, then the wire will get more brittle. It will expand in size. So I'm only bending the bit where it's not been hammered, when the wire is still nice and strong and thick. I mean, obviously I bend this bit on the bottom, but that's really not a problem because you're not going to be messing about with that. This part you will be putting in your ear and out, and then putting the backing on, so it needs to be strong. And with this design, I'm just going to show you how I'm going to quickly attach a crystal to this. I'm going to be using 28 gauge silver plated wire and this teeny tiny crystal, which is in a setting, and I cut it from a cup chain or crystal chain. I can't remember what it's called. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap this wire around this straight bar first. And then I'm gonna add the little crystal to it. Okay, I apologize for not showing you the rest, but I literally couldn't see anything, so I had to really look close to see what I was doing. So like I said, I first wrapped it around the sort of the long bit, then I added my crystal, and then I just carried on and was wrapping it around this curved heart of the spiral, and then I just cut it off right there. And I'm sure it can be done better. So here is one I did before. I wrapped it around the long bar a few times, added the crystal, and then carried on wrapping it around. It's better because now the crystal sits on this wire, which has been hammered, and it's nice and flat, whereas the one I just did, and I couldn't see what I was doing, it is sitting on the 28 gauge wire, which is not a problem, but it's kind of more raised. And I would prefer it to sit on the hammered metal rather than the thin wire. So yeah. And again, let me show you this one. Beautiful, beautiful indeed. So I think the possibilities for this simple ear stud are endless. You could even use some twisted jump rings. This one has not been soldered, but you can buy them soldered as well, and in different thicknesses. brass wire as a jump ring. This one is hammered and it has even more texture than the other ones. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. I mean, as you can see, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just to show you a cool way of making some dainty studs without soldering. I love them, and honestly you can make so many different designs with this technique. You could add crystals to them, beads, chains, all sorts of metal charms and what have you, just anything you like. So I really hope you try them and let me know which one is your favorite and what you want me to do next, and I will see you next time. Bye!